Welcome, everybody, to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, America's #1 podcast for new real estate investors, where we know that finding discounted properties is the most proven path to financial freedom. I am your host, Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, and I am telling you this. If I can do it, so can you. So let's get started. I am very excited about this interview today. I'm very excited about this podcast today because for the first time ever, I have on the phone somebody that I have personally done business with for almost 5 years. 4.5 years. I have used this guy's company, and watched it grow, watched it expand, and watched it really improve. And you guys have heard me talk about it some on this channel. You've heard me talk about it on this podcast, but I'm talking about Call Motivated Sellers. They're the company that hires Americans to make calls for you to find discounted properties, right? This is much different than something that's overseas, that is, somebody that's English is a second language. These are American callers calling American neighborhoods. So it is my pleasure for the first time ever to introduce Jason Hubley, the owner of Call Motivated Sellers. Jason, say hello to everybody.
Hey, everybody. Pleasure to meet you all, and welcome to the show.
So what I want to do here is this podcast is not like an advertisement. This podcast isn't for me to brag about all the success I've had with your company. This podcast isn't about educating people. This is about giving instruction. I really want to get in the nitty-gritty because nobody knows one, how to train callers to make calls to motivated sellers more than you, and nobody really knows how to find the right person or really what it takes to be good on the phone as much as you do. I mean, you've had thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of experience. So I want to get into it first, just on the ground floor, Jason. When somebody is starting and they've never made calls before, they're just getting started, they're getting into this business, what are some tips, what are some advice that you could give them so that they can just get started, start building the momentum, start making their first set of calls, start building their endurance for making calls, and not being so worried about all the rejection and all the fear and all the crazy stuff that kind of spins through our head? Give us some advice on what you would say to somebody that is just starting out to make calls themselves.
Well, definitely, I would say stick with believing in yourself, keep yourself very confident, and really see through on your vision, really know that you deserve it, and keep on hammering away. You got to keep on trying. And once you lock in your first deal, that's really a big milestone for you. You're breaking the ice, or you're popping the cherry, they say, some of them on their first sale. And then you're opening up the doors to many more. It's all about just persevering, keep trying, learn from everything that you do, learn from every interaction you have and every call you have.
Do you see with the callers that you're around, is there any kind of, because listen, I mean, I don't know if you know the stats like exactly, but you can kind of give me some ballpark. I mean, how long have you been working with people making calls? How long have you been working with cold callers, essentially, or phone prospectors?
About 7 or 8 years now with cold calling, in many different processes and many different verticals.
Okay, so hundreds of thousands of hours of experience with all these callers, right?
Definitely, yeah.
How do people build up the endurance? Is it just doing it? Is it just making the calls? Is it just kind of being, just getting into the rhythm of it? I mean, when you have somebody new, how do you get them to feel comfortable to keep going and get that confidence? Because listen, when I started, Jason, we've talked about this. It took me forever. The phone was like 500 pounds. I was trying to make calls. I had to pump myself up. I had to listen to like Tony Robbins. I had to get all excited. I had to move around before I ever made a call. What do you see with people when they're just starting to make calls? And obviously they're getting paid. Right? They're getting paid an hourly rate in a lot of the companies that you have either managed or owned. But how do you know if they're going to be good? How do you know if they're going to be natural at it?
Really comes down to energy and attitude and maintaining that positive energy. Don't let things get you down. We are all human, but sometimes you just got to shrug it off or take it on the chin and move forward and just keep on, plugging away. It's a numbers game. Yeah. And that's how it works. It's really all about energy.
It's that simple. I talk about it all the time, Jason. I talk about the number one thing, right? Well, I think the number one thing is having the hunger to do it, right? Really, really, really knowing that you must do this. Not that you want to do this, but that you absolutely must do this. You must not have an average life. You must not rely on a 401k or Social Security. You must not, pay bills and work for somebody else forever and ever and ever. You have all these musts in your life. They wouldn't be listening to this podcast if they didn't have that, Jason. But I think that it's, when you're getting into this and you're making those calls and you make it a must that you must be good at this, it gives you a whole different perspective. It gives you a whole different kind of platform to stand on or foundation to stand on that says, you know what? I don't care if people scream at me. I don't care if I get rejected. I don't care if I'm not used to all of this. I'm going to push through this because I know if I talk to and if I have enough quality conversations with distressed property owners, I'm going to get a deal.
Definitely. And it builds good character and good life skills as well, good communication and how, again, to maintain that positive energy and really grow yourself.
So let's talk nitty gritty here because that's kind of the head stuff. That's the mindset stuff. Let's talk nitty gritty. When somebody comes to you, they go to callmotivatedsellers.com. They put in their information. You guys talk to them. It seems like a good fit. When they get started with you, how much runway do you need? How much time? You need a certain amount of weeks of commitment for you to find the right person, hire them, train them, get them ready for this campaign. What does that look like? What can people expect from that standpoint?
Well, that's the beauty in what we do. It's actually only about 1 to 2 weeks maximum. We have a class every week where people go through our training program. It's a full week. They must pass a written and oral exam. Once they go through the training program, they go into our hiring pool. When a new client comes in and they sign up, we then have a kickoff meeting with them. We profile them and get to know them and see who's a good fit for them based on what region they might be in or what type of candidate they're looking for. We then dip into that hiring pool and pull a candidate that's a specific fit for them. We profile someone for them. So
is some of the part of it
definitely
speak Spanish or speak different languages that are more prevalent in different states?
Definitely. So if they're from the South, we might pick someone with a Southern accent. It might be a better fit versus California, or if they're over on the East Coast, they might have a different accent. But we're really looking for people with a neutral or no accent at all. And then there are, of course, other parts of the country where bilingual might be an asset as well, say in Florida or whatnot. But really, we're looking for people that are a character fit, language fits, schedule fits, and several other things. So also even getting to know the client themselves, who's a good personality fit to work with that client and their style.
Okay, so say somebody wanted to find their own, they're ready, right? And listen, you guys know, watching and listening to this, that I push that everybody, I don't care if you have $1 million in the bank and you're coming into this business, if you are new, if you're starting to build up your cold calling channel, your TTP channel for getting deals, I highly suggest you as the owner talk to a minimum of 1,000 property owners yourself. I do. Jason, I tell everybody this, at least 1,000 owners themselves, okay? Because like you said, those skills, after you talk to 1,000 strangers about their property, you could talk to anybody about anything. It bleeds into all different areas of your life. It's so incredible, and it gives you a lot more confidence, and you're not as sensitive to things. It's really interesting. We, here at the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, we call this the Rhino Tribe because you have to have thick skin in this business, and there's no better way to get thick skin than be rejected 990 times out of 1,000, but you get 10 deals. You know what I mean? But anyway, I highly encourage you to build up those skills and make the calls yourself. Now, when somebody's done that, let's just, in a perfect world, or they just want to skip to hiring somebody, and they just want to hire somebody independent, what things should they look for? What do you look for when you're hiring people for Call Motivated Sellers?
Sure. So first off, we do the Tony Robbins disc profile test. We're looking for a specific personality type. We're looking for a neutral voice tone, somebody that's very soft-spoken, someone that has a good background, some confidence, speak very clearly. And then, of course, there's many other factors such as scheduling and all of those details that we work out for you to save you time. They also go through the training, handling rebuttals and objections, and script handling and the 4 pillars.
If somebody, I love that. If somebody is going to hire somebody themselves, what you're saying is do the disc profile, make sure that they have a soft tone, make sure that their voice sounds good. How important is tone of voice?
It's definitely very important for the initial approach. It definitely reduces the number of hangups and rejections you get when you have a nice soft approach. It doesn't come across so salesy. We're not selling something anyhow, so it's nice to just reach out because we're really, at the end of the day, we're helping people.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I love it. So, okay. So then in training them, so if somebody wanted to hire their own person and train them, how would they train them?
It is a lot of work to train themselves, definitely going through the script and following your YouTube videos, for example, are a great start, or your program. There's a lot of great training in there and things to follow. Again, I think that's what we offer best at Call Motivated Sellers, is saving you all of that time from having to go out and screen through many candidates, interviewing them all, training them all, and then hoping that they'll work out. We actually go through all of that. We've trained hundreds of agents now, so we know what to do, and really shortcut that process for you so you can save time and money and focus on the main thing, closing deals and your own life as well.
Love it. Love it. And how do you keep people organized? How do you keep these phone process? Because here's the thing, I've had them in-house, and this is just letting everybody know the process that I've gone through. I've hired people in-house first, right? They usually lasted about 6 weeks. And even less. The 6 weeks was like a long term. That was like a holy cow, this person feels like they've been here for years. 6 weeks was the max, really, from hiring somebody that was paid hourly. Jason, they would maybe last 6 weeks because they were always looking over their shoulder for some other job to do, right? They wanted to come in, they were all excited about real estate, and then they realized that they have to talk to a bunch of people and like really start generating leads, and all of a sudden they didn't want to do real estate anymore, and they're in some other business or something else that was flashy to them at the time. So it didn't really work. So that's why I reached out to you. I remember reaching out to you, and I found you. I think I just Googled like phone prospectors, and it was outbounders at the time, and then it led me to you because you were running a lot of the show there, and I started with the Filipinos, and that did okay, but it started to really not work out. The conversations were really rough. The language barrier was very difficult to try to pull out the most. I found that with Filipinos, I was making like $12,000 a deal. But when I was making the calls, or when somebody on my team that was in the office was making the calls, we were getting like 18,000. And then you said, you know what? I can get you Americans if you want to get Americans. And then here we are. Call Motivated Sellers has really taken over as really the Rolls Royce of hiring for if somebody's looking for a real professional American phone prospector.
Yeah, so I mean, first thing, the nice thing is the redundancy we put in place so that because we're always actively recruiting and training, if something does happen with your cold caller, we're able to quickly replace them. So you minimize your downtime and maximize your lead flow. So you're making as many deals as possible. That's a big thing with what we do. And the other thing too is, the wholesalers are paying a lot for their calling lists and the skip tracing. So you want to get as many leads or as contacts or deals or whatever you want to call it out of that calling list as possible. So you want to work with efficient people that understand the language, both culturally and speaking it. So working with Americans, they do understand what building materials are used, the street names, what a basement is, for example, and everything about housing within the United States. So that's why Americans have proven better for us, just getting more out of your calling list and getting more deals and more quickly aligning with the results you're looking for.
Right. So now, with Call Motivated Sellers, our average is $29,000 a deal. You know what I mean? And truly, Jason, and I talk about this a lot because my students, people in the TTP family all the time ask me, should I do a Filipino or should a Filipino call phone prospector, or should I do an American? And I say, listen, here's the thing. It depends on your budget. Obviously, the Americans are going to be at a premium, what we consider a premium, but compared to somebody from the Philippines that are $4, $5, $8 an hour, this is a premium. But I said, I looked at the numbers, and I've looked at the numbers for the last 3 years, and the amount that I would average, that 12,000 I'd average from a Filipino versus the 29,000 that I average from an American. The Americans can dig in more. They just get more, that people feel more comfortable. The conversation, if it blossoms more and opens up more, so that you can really ask the important questions and really get them to pre-qualify, like you were talking about, the 4 pillars. Which listen, guys, I've worked with Jason for so long. They are all of his callers are trained on TTP. All of his callers are trained on the 4 pillars of pre-qualifying. By the time we get a lead at this point, it's a quality lead. We know that this is somebody that we have potential. It's now on my acquisition managers to go out and close that and shorten their timeline and get the deal. So, I think that's really important. When people are coming to you, Jason, how many addresses do you tell them you need skip traced, ready to go, ready to be called if they're hiring somebody, let's say, for 20 hours a week?
I recommend starting with at least a few thousand, ideally 5,000 if you can, and be ready to get more. So when we get low, or when we've gone through the list several times, be ready to get another list together quickly so that time isn't wasted calling numbers that have already been called. So definitely keeping on top of that. I also recommend trying a couple different sources. Have a backup list too, so for a rainy day, if you do run out of your main calling list, you have a list that they can go to. If it's Friday afternoon, for example, and they went through this week's list, they can go back to the list from last month. And sometimes, people pop up out of there. It's all a timing game.
Now, when you say a couple different lists, what do you mean?
So different demographics, different types. Even just having an old basic list once in a while, that's not what I'd recommend as your main list, but just using premium lists or more specific lists.
Do you know, and I know that you're not like, all of the callers work from home, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so is there any way, could you tell me, and I really don't know the answer to this, do you know which list they like to call the best?
That's a big question. There's I'd say more like that's a tough one. There's probably about 5 main ones, but there's probates, divorce, any kind of delinquencies, any kind of municipality type ones. There's a lot of options out there depending on which provider you work with.
Driving for dollars?
I've heard driving for dollars has been good for a lot of our clients. They definitely like that one. That's a winner for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really important to have fresh lists, fresh data for your callers. I mean, because if they're calling through a list 3, 4, 5 times, or some people just say, hey, call them until you get a hold of them, which I totally disagree with. I don't think you should call a list more than 3 times ever, 2 times preferably, because Jason, you know as well as I do, the contact rate goes way down.
Definitely. So having a fresh list is key, but don't lay off the leads either. When you get someone, for example, this is a great example I heard recently, is if someone is going through a divorce currently, it might take them several months, up to 9 months, before they actually decide to move on with the property. So stay in contact with them, or people that might be in a difficult financial situation now. They may not be motivated now, but they might be in 3 months from now. So keep all of those lists, and they're highly valuable. Some leads take years to groom in many businesses. So, stay with them, and eventually they will close.
What do you think are the biggest mistakes people make as they're starting out with you? You know what I mean? Because we kind of talk about this a little bit. I think, right off the top of my head, people don't go long enough with the service. I mean, it takes time for deals to get closed. So what are some mistakes that people make as they're starting?
First one is the point you brought up earlier. I think everyone should do the cold calling themselves first. do 1,000 calls, get to know it. Then you'll really appreciate what we do too. It's not easy. It's hard work. Then you'll have a lot of respect for our cold callers and what they go through each day, how much coffee they have to take and all of those things to keep on smiling and dialing. The other thing is, just understanding how to handle your lead process. So following up on them quickly. One of our callers do get a lead. Get on it quickly, reach out to them, make them feel important, and close that deal. Having a good source of lists is also very important. So the biggest mistakes is just not prepared for the long term. So that's why we are asking people to commit long term. It's not something that you start and 1 month later, you're rolling in dough. It takes time to groom those leads and nurture them, and then have the deal come through on your end. So be prepared, be invested for at least a few months, so that you can see it through. The turnaround time is a few months. So you want to see it through. Once you get through those first few months and you've brought in your first deal or two, then they start accumulating and building up. Then you get more and more deals, and then you start piling up on deals. And that's the great thing. So that's where you got to hang in there and keep on fighting.
I love it. I have a whole segment, a whole section in the TTP program about how to run an effective weekly meeting with your phone prospectors, because I think it's absolutely critical, Jason, to make them feel like they're part of the company, to make them feel like they're important, to make them feel like what they do matters, to make them feel that you are watching what they're doing. It's not just turn it on and forget about it. You need to constantly be telling these people, this is what I'm looking for. This area is different than this area, and here's why. This lead just closed. I can't believe it. You remember you had that conversation and that gal was about to lose her house. Well, now she's not losing her house. And it makes them feel and have way more pride, because as well as I do, a lot of those phone prospectors, it's like they start for a while, and then they go into a different campaign, and they're used to going into different campaigns all the time. Not necessarily yours, because I know people usually stick with you for a long time, but just in their past jobs, they're always kind of waiting for the axe to drop. You know what I mean? And so if you're communicating with them and you're making them feel important, talk about that. Just
so we see
your side.
Yeah, we see our agents stick longer than any other type of campaign that I've done, mainly because it is very empowering to them. The way we're structured, it's a dedicated staffing model. So the agents are actually working with the clients, with the wholesalers, so they feel like they're a part of their business and feel like they're a part of their team. And many of our clients speak with their agent daily. And that makes them feel really good. And when they hear from the client that one of the leads they brought in closed the deal, we love to hear it too. When we hear it at the company, when a client reaches out and says, hey, this is our second week and your agent already brought us in a lead that resulted in a deal, we just love to hear that. So it really helps with the stick rate for the agents, just being empowered that way, working with a company that they know, or a team they know, or a family they know, or whoever it may be, as opposed to random agent X in a large center. This is really part of more of a family style business.
Awesome.
And we encourage that.
Awesome. And you recently, you were based out of Costa Rica for a long time. Now you're actually based in the United States, which is fantastic, because I remember early on people were like, Brent, they want me to send money to Costa Rica. Is this like a real thing? Is this a scam? Like, what's going on here? And so I was like, no, they're great. I do it every month. But it's nice that you're now based here and you're getting a lot of talent. One of the downsides, there's a lot of downsides to the pandemic, but one of the upsides is you have access to some really incredible talent.
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's one of the things I'm very grateful for, to be able to provide jobs at home right now. People working from home, being able to spend more time with their families, not having to commute. And we're able to tap into some really good talent because we're recruiting US wide. So we're finding lots of good people that are available. Many other jobs have shut down. So a lot of good talent is popping up. And we're finding some great people. I'm really enjoying that part. And it's definitely opportune time, a higher unemployment rate, and we're contributing positively to that. So that's very nice as well.
Awesome. So everybody out there, listen, if you're thinking about getting somebody in your office or down the street or somebody that you can, kind of bring along, listen to what Jason's saying here. Have them do a disc profile. Make sure that they have the capacity to say a lot of words every single day. I mean, what are you looking for in that disc profile, Jason? Are you looking for somebody that's an expressive? You're looking for somebody that's amiable? You're looking for, you know what I mean? Are you looking for somebody that's analytical? What are you looking for in that disc profile?
Well, we're actually following your advice on that, and then we do cater to the client as well, what you recommend in your program. And then we also do cater a bit if clients have specific requests.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. How do people find you, Jason? What's the best way if they're like, you know what? I don't want to hire somebody myself. I don't want to train them. I don't want to manage them. I just want to get leads coming in. I want them good quality leads. How do they get a hold of you? How do they find you?
Just go to callmotivatedSellers.com, fill in your name, phone number, and email address, and where you heard about us, and you'll hear from somebody in our sales team. We'll get you all set up, answer any questions you have, and it's a really smooth launching process, and I think everyone will enjoy it.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, guys, you cannot imagine what it took to get this man in front of a camera. This is his first ever video. And by the way, if you're just listening to this podcast, definitely check it out. Check out the video on Brent Daniels' YouTube channel. Put a face with a voice. He's very handsome. And check us out there. But if you are interested in hiring somebody, guys, listen, I don't own this company. It is Jason owns this company, but I've been using them for 4.5 years, and I've made a lot of deals from them. And so I wanted to bring them on and to get on camera here and talk to you guys and give you some tips. If you want to hire yourself, you heard it from him. You heard it from the guy that hires all the top talent. Make the calls yourself first, then hire. But when you're ready to do that, definitely at least have the conversation with him at callmotivatedsellers.com. Jason, thank you for being on here, brother.
Thank you very much, Brent. Have an awesome day.
Awesome, you too. And everybody out there, if you are interested in joining the most proactive group in real estate investing, it is the TTP family. It is the TTP program. Go to wholesalinginc.com/TTP. That's wholesalinginc.com/TTP. Scroll down, check what it's all about, read the reviews. Go through what the program's all about. If it feels good in your gut, sign up for a call. I look forward to working with you personally. And every show, as I always do, encouraging you to talk to people. Until next time, love you guys. See ya.